Hello all, welcome back to Metis IAS Academy. So we'll be continuing with our chapters of Parliament. So far we have discussed what is Parliament, what are the different houses of Parliament, why President is also a component of Parliament, what are the different ways in which there can be the parliamentary control over the executives. We also spoke about the sessions that are happening in the Parliament, and we also spoke about the adjournment, dissolution, etc. We also spoke about the 0 hour, question hour, etc. Okay. Now, now the most important thing is we always discussed a particular thing, or we always used a particular word called as the functioning of the house or the business of the house. Now, what exactly is the business of the house, or what exactly is the business of this parliament? The exact business or the most important business of the parliament is mainly with respect to passing of laws. Passing of laws or making the laws is the most important business of the parliament. Now in this video, we shall discuss how a particular act or a law is passed. How a particular law or act is passed. Now, before enacting an act, before enacting a particular law, what is important is there has to be there has to be a proposal. There has to be a proposal in front of the parliament. There has to be a proposal in front of the parliament. Now, what is this proposal called as? This proposal is what we call as bills. This proposal is what we call as bills. So, in simple words, what are bills? Bills, in simple words, are nothing but the proposals for creation of a new law or the proposal for amending the existing laws. So, both the things, that is the proposal for creating a new law or amending the existing laws, the both kinds of proposals are what we call as bills. Now, it is these bills that are presented for debate or deliberation in front of the parliament, and it is on these bills that the members of the parliament are going to speak. The members of the parliament are going to put their vote. The members of the parliament are going to reject. Only when this bill is successfully passed all the stages of the parliament and receives the final approval of the parliament, then only it is going to becoming a law. Then only it is going to becoming a law. So this is what we are called as bills, or this is why bills are important. So in simple words, bills are nothing but the initiation or the proposal for creating a new law or for amending the law. This is what we call as bills. Now, when we speak about bills, there are actually two type of bills. Now, what is the first type of bills? The first type of bills is what we call as public bills. The first type of bill is what we call as public bills. Now, what are these public bills? In simple words, any bill, any bill that is introduced in the parliament, be it Lok Sabha or Rajya Sabha, by any minister of the government is what we call as public bills. Is what we call as public bills. Now there is this public bill which is also called as government bill. This public bill is what we also call as a government bill. Now, next we have something called as private bill. Now, what is this private bill? This private bill is a bill that is introduced by any member of the parliament, who is not a minister in the government. That is, for example, if we consider Lok Sabha, there are 543 members. If we consider Rajya Sabha, there are approximately 245 members. So in total, there is approximately 780 odd members in the parliament. Now, out of this, what is the maximum number of MPs that can become ministers, it is basically 15% of the Lok Sabha. That is, in simple words, approximately 80 members. Approximately 80 members are going to become the ministers. That is maximum. That is maximum. Now, out of 780, if 80 members are going to become ministers, then there are approximately 700 members. Approximately 700 members, either from Lok Sabha or from Rajya Sabha. That is, these 700 people are MPs either from Lok Sabha or from Rajya Sabha. They may be from the ruling party or they may be from the opposition party. But what is the condition? The condition is they have to be the members of the parliament. That's all. Be it from the opposition party or be it from the ruling party. Now, if any such member introduces a bill, then such bill is what we call as a private bill. Then such bill is what we call as a private bill. Now, so we have understood what is this public bill. In simple words, public bill is nothing but a bill that is introduced in the parliament by a minister. What is private bill? Private bill is a bill that is introduced by any member of the parliament, be it from the opposition party or from the ruling party. And this member should be a member who is not a minister. This is what we call as private bill. Now, coming to the public bill, when we say this public bill is introduced by a minister, whose policies should it reflect? This public bill should reflect the policies of the government. This public bill should reflect the policies of the government. Now, what about private bill? Will it reflect the policies of the government? No, they might not reflect the policies of the government. Rather, they might reflect the policies of the opposition party. They might reflect any interest or well-being of the people of a representatives, constituencies, any other thing. Okay, so this is the second difference. Now, the third difference is, now when we say public bill is a bill that is introduced by a minister. Now, when we say it is introduced by a minister, obviously this minister is going to be from a ruling party. When we say this minister is going to be from ruling party, are there greater chances of this bill being approved or lesser chances? Obviously, there are greater chances of this bill being approved. So the third difference is public bill has a greater chance of being approved. Now coming to private bill, this private bill has very less chances of being approved. Why there are very less chances? The reason is it will be mainly presented by who? By the opposition party. Now let us assume, due to some reasons, if this public bill or government bill is rejected in the House, what it means, it shows lack of confidence. It shows lack of confidence of the executive by the parliament, and it might lead to what we call as the no confidence motion initiation against the government. Okay, but if the private bill is rejected, then that is a very common circumstance. That is a very common circumstance. Okay, so this is another bill. Now this is another difference. Now coming to coming to another difference, this public bill, if this public bill has to be initiated in the House, has to be introduced in the House, then at least 7 days prior notice has to be given. How many days? 7 days primary prior notice has to be given by the minister saying that we are going to introduce a particular bill. Now, coming to the private bill, if this private bill has to be introduced, then at least 30 days prior notice has to be given. So this is another important difference. Now, when we say or when we speak about this public bill will be drafted by the concerned department in consultation with the law department. Why? Because ultimately it is the law department who has the expertise in making the bills. But when we speak about this particular private bill, what happens in this private bill is that particular member who wants to introduce a bill who is not a minister, that is, that private member himself or herself has to create the draft of this bill. So these are the two important things, or these are the two important classifications that we need to know. That is public bills and private bills. Public bills as well as private bills. Now, now when we speak about bills, there are actually different type of bills. There are different type of bills. Now, the two classification that we discussed was public and private bills. But then there are four different type of bills. Now, what are the four different type of bills? The first bill or the first different type of bill is what we call as constitutional amendment bill. That is a proposal or a bill that is put forward to amend the constitution. That is what we call as constitutional amendment bill. That is first type of bill. The second type of bill is the bill that is going to deal with money related aspects, and this we call as money bill. The third type of bill is what we call as financial bill. Now, this financial bill is also a bill that is going to deal with money related things, but these things are not found in this money bill aspects. These bills are not found in the money bill aspects. So, any aspects or anything that is associated with money and is not found in the money bill is what we call as financial bill. So, this is the third type of or third category of bill. Then we have a fourth category of bill, that is what we call as ordinary bill. So any other bill which does not come under these three things, that does not come under these three things is what we call as ordinary bill, is what we call as ordinary bill. So these are the four different type of bills that are present in our parliamentary proceedings. Okay. Now, now, we shall start our discussion about bills with respect to the different stages of the bill. What is going to happen or how a bill is going to get introduced in the House. Now, we or this bill has to pass through four or three different stages. How many stages? It has to pass through three different stages. Now, the first stage, that is stage one, is basically the first reading of the bill and gazette publication. Now, what is this stage? See the slide. This stage is primarily about introducing the bill. Now, what is introducing the bill? Basically, putting forward a proposal. Putting forward a proposal. But is it going to be a verbal proposal? No. It is not going to be a verbal proposal. Rather, it is going to be a document. Okay. Now, when they have to put forward a proposal or when they have to introduce a bill, that time or at that particular time itself, there can be rejection or there can be adoption of this particular proposal. Now, so this bill is going to begin with a motion for leave to introduce the bill. So if this motion is objected by the members, certain times what happens? The members of the parliament will object for introducing a certain bill. So if that is the case, then a simple majority vote is going to happen. Okay. So through this simple majority vote, the approval is granted and the bill is going to be officially published in the Gazette of India. Okay. Now, why it is published in the Gazette of India? The reason is simple. This publication makes the bill a public document accessible to all. For example, you might see or you might read some important provisions about certain bills that are brought. They might not be acts, they might be still bills, but you get a chance to read them. Now, why do you get a chance to read them? The answer is they are present in the Gazette of India. Okay. Now, this is the first stage of the bill. Now, coming to the second stage. Now, it is this second stage where we see a detailed scrutiny of the bill. This is the second stage where we see a detailed scrutiny of the bill. And this is considered as the most crucial phase where the bill undergoes through certain examination and refinement. Now, what is this examination and refinement? We should see it. Now, what happens here is that there will be a general discussion on the bill. There will be a general discussion on the bill. You might see in the parliament members discussing about a bill. Ruling party members will speak for the bill, and opposition party members will speak against the bill. Now, why this is happening? Because, or at what stage this is happening? This is happening at stage two. So, what is happening here is the principles of the bill and its general provisions. Now, what does this bill contain? What are the advantages of the bill, etc., are discussed here. Okay, they are discussed here, and members can suggest various course of action also. Members can suggest certain amendments also. Certain times there will be, a ruckus in the parliament, basically while discussing about this bill. And you also see certain bills being sent to the joint committee of members of both Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha, or even for a certain select committee of any one particular house. Okay. Now, why this is happening? This is happening because this second stage, this stage two, provides an option for that through committee stage and consideration stage. So, what is happening here is here the bill receives the detailed scrutiny. For example, the data protection bill. So this was initially brought in the stage one. There was a publication in the Gazette. What happened in stage two? In the stage two, there was a detailed scrutiny by speaking for the bill and against the bill. And then the bill was sent to a joint parliamentary committee. So where is this happening? This is happening in the stage two. Now, coming to stage three, coming to stage 3, or before going to stage 3, we will discuss in detail what is exactly going to happen in stage 2, because stage 2 is the most important part, or it is the most important stage of a particular bill. So during the second reading, that is in the stage 2. Okay, after the general discussion is done, the copy of the bill is distributed to all the members. So all the members are given a copy of this particular bill. So at that time, what happens? The members are going to put forward their options or opinions. So various options are available for the detailed consideration of this bill. So what happens is at this particular time, the house will decide the house will decide whether to take up the bill immediately or on a specified date. Now, why this is going to happen? Now, this allows the members, or this gives the members a time to study about this bill in detail. That is, for example, today, if they are going to get the copy of the bill, then let us assume it is discussed that after 7 days, this bill is going to get discussed. Then members will have 7 days to study the pros and cons of the bill. They will have a lot of people who are going to assist them. And you see certain members doing wonderful speech in the parliament, speaking for the bill or speaking against the bill. Why? Because they have got sufficient time to study this particular bill. Now, now, what are the other options? The other option is this bill can also be referred to a select committee. That is, let us assume Lok Sabha or Rajya Sabha, any one specific house. So, of that particular house, there will be certain members who are selected and who will be expert in certain fields. Okay. Now, the bill will be sent to this select committee. The bill will be sent to this select committee, and this committee will offer certain recommendations. Now, it is up to the house to whether to accept the recommendation or to not accept the recommendation. But the committee will do its job in providing recommendations. The other option is it can also be referred to a joint committee. Now, what is this joint committee? Here, it will not just have members of either Lok Sabha or Rajya Sabha. Rather, it is going to have members of both Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha. Okay, so this promotes consensus building and broader representation in the scrutiny process. Now, apart from this, what can also happen is the bills can be put forward for seeking public opinion. That is, you also get an option for providing a feedback demonstrating transparency and public engagement in the lawmaking. That is, people like us are also given an option to speak or to write suggestions about the bill why this bill is good or why this bill is bad. So these are the things that are happening in the second stage. Now, what exactly is happening in the first stage or second stage and third stage is not very important for you from the examination perspective. But again, why are we discussing? The reason is very simple. You should know the process, because if you know the process, it becomes easy for us to understand the whole topic. Because tomorrow, if you see any parliamentary proceedings, if they are discussing, you should know at what stage the bill is now standing. Now, let us move to the third and the final stage. Now, what is this third stage? This is a mere formality. Now, what is this mere formality? It is focusing it is focusing about acceptance or rejecting of the bill. It is focusing on the acceptance or rejections of the bill. Why? Because here no amendments as such can be made. Why? Because all these kind of things has to happen where all these kind of things has to happen in the second reading itself. And then what happens in the third reading? Clause by clause voting takes place. That is, a bill might have 10 different clauses. So clause 1 will also be voted, clause 2 will also be voted. In this form, the bill will be voted in all its clauses. Okay. Once all the clauses are voted, it is considered that the bill is passed in that particular house. It is then considered that the bill is passed in that particular house. So now let us assume this particular scenario, that is stage 1, stage 2 and stage 3, is happening in Lok Sabha. Is happening where? In Lok Sabha. So once all the clauses are passed, then what it means? It means the bill has cleared Lok Sabha. Now once the bill passes in the Lok Sabha, it is then transmitted to the Rajya Sabha for its consideration. It is then transmitted to where? It is then transmitted to the Rajya Sabha for its consideration. Now, all these things that we are discussing so far is mainly with respect to ordinary bills. All these things that we are discussing so far is what is mainly with respect to ordinary bills. Again, I repeat, what are these ordinary bills? These ordinary bills are those bills which neither speaks about constitutional amendment nor about money related assets. And where can this bill be introduced? This ordinary bill can be introduced either in Lok Sabha or in Rajya Sabha. Does this ordinary bill require the prior approval of the president to be introduced? No. This ordinary bill does not require the prior approval of the president. Another thing is, who can introduce this ordinary bill? Whether this ordinary bill can only be a public bill? No. This ordinary bill can be introduced either by a minister or by any member of the parliament, which means this ordinary bill can be introduced either by Lok Sabha, sorry, can be introduced either as a public bill or as a private bill. So we have understood that this is how the ordinary bill passes the first house. Now let us assume this ordinary bill has passed Lok Sabha and this ordinary bill is now going to the Rajya Sabha. Now, once the bill is passed from Lok Sabha, it goes to Rajya Sabha. Now, what happens in Rajya Sabha? The Rajya Sabha has different options. The Rajya Sabha has what? Different options. Now, what is option number one? The option number one is passing of the bill as it is. That is, the Lok Sabha has passed this bill. The Lok Sabha has passed this bill. Okay, and it moves to Rajya Sabha. In the Rajya Sabha also, first reading, second reading, and third reading happens. There is no changes. Rajya Sabha also passes this bill. Okay, so this is what we call as passage of this bill even in Rajya Sabha. So in Lok Sabha also the bill is passed, and in Rajya Sabha also this bill is passed. And when it is passed in both the houses, then it goes to the President of India. It goes to the President of India. Now, why it goes to the President of India? Because only if the President of India gives his or her assent to this bill is going to become an act. Okay, so this is the first option that Rajya Sabha has. Now, coming to the second option, what can Rajya Sabha do? The Rajya Sabha can reject the bill. The Rajya Sabha can reject the bill. Now, what is this rejection of the bill? In simple words, Lok Sabha passes the bill goes to Rajya Sabha. But in Rajya Sabha, more members of the Rajya Sabha are against the bill. If more members are for the bill, then the bill will be passed. And if more members are against the bill, then what happens to the bill? The bill is going to get rejected. So this is the second option. So the bill is rejected where in Rajya Sabha. So now when the bill is passed in Lok Sabha and the bill is rejected in Rajya Sabha, will it goes to the president? No, the bill is not going to the president. What will happen? I will tell you. What will happen? I will tell you. Okay, but let us keep it aside for now. Now let us see the third option that is available in front of Rajya Sabha. That is amendments. Okay. Now what is this amendment? That is, let us assume Lok Sabha has passed the bill. It goes to Rajya Sabha. Now Rajya Sabha proposes certain bill or certain amendments to the bill. That is, the Rajya Sabha proposes certain modifications to the bill, saying that this particular clause is not right. This particular clause has to be changed. And in Rajya Sabha, what they do, they change those clauses. Let us assume a bill has 10 clauses. Okay. In Lok Sabha, all the 10 clauses was passed. In Rajya Sabha, let us assume the members of Rajya Sabha or Rajya Sabha decides that clause 8 has to be deleted. Okay. Now, they will delete this clause 8 and they will pass this bill in Rajya Sabha. Okay. Now, when this amendment is made to the bill will be once again sent back to the Lok Sabha. The bill will once again be sent back to the Lok Sabha. Now, if the Lok Sabha agrees to these amendments, saying that okay, what Rajya Sabha has said is true, that is clause 8 is not required, then the bill is passed. Then the bill is passed. Then the bill is passed. Okay. If the bill is passed, then what happens? It goes to the President of India. Clear? Now let us assume if the Lok Sabha does not agree to the amendments that are proposed by Rajya Sabha, then what happens? Then, then the bill is not passed. Then the bill is not passed. If the bill is not passed, will it goes to the president? No, it is not going to go for the president. Okay. Now, so we have two scenario now. The first scenario is Lok Sabha passes the bill, Rajya Sabha passes the bill. Bill goes to president. Second scenario is Lok Sabha passes the bill, Rajya Sabha does not pass the bill. Okay. Third scenario is Lok Sabha passes the bill, Rajya Sabha proposes certain amendments and Lok Sabha agrees to these amendments. And then it goes to scenario one, that is acceptance by both the house. Now, Lok Sabha passes the bill, it goes to Rajya Sabha. Rajya Sabha proposes certain amendments, but Lok Sabha in return does not accept these amendments. So the bill is rejected. Okay, so these are the two scenarios. Now, there is one more scenario that is inaction. What is this inaction? That is, for example, Lok Sabha passes the bill today and the bill goes to Rajya Sabha. And the bill goes to where? The bill goes to the second house, that is Rajya Sabha. And Rajya Sabha does not take any action. In Rajya Sabha, neither a discussion is happening. Even if the discussion is happening, there is no vote on this bill that is happening. For how long? For 6 months. If that is the case, then it leads to what we call as the deadlock of the bill. Then it leads to what we call as deadlock of the bill. If it is deadlock, it means that the bill has been rejected by who? By Rajya Sabha. Okay. Now summarizing it. What is an ordinary bill? An ordinary bill is a bill that speaks neither about constitutional amendment nor about money aspects. Rather, it speaks about any other things. Now, what kind of a bill can this be? This can either be a public bill or it can be a private bill. Where it can be introduced? It can be introduced either in Lok Sabha or in Rajya Sabha. Now, let us assume this bill is introduced in Lok Sabha and if the Lok Sabha passes this bill, it goes to Rajya Sabha. If Rajya Sabha accepts this bill, then the bill is passed and sent to President. Now, scenario 2. Lok Sabha accepts the bill. Bill is sent to Rajya Sabha. Rajya Sabha rejects the bill does not pass or it leads to what we call as deadlock. It leads to what we call as deadlock. Okay. Scenario 3. Lok Sabha passes the bill. Bill goes to Rajya Sabha. Rajya Sabha proposes certain amendments. Lok Sabha agrees to it. Then the bill is passed. Now, Rajya Sabha proposes certain amendments, and if Lok Sabha does not agree for these amendments, then the bill goes to deadlock. Another scenario is Lok Sabha passes the bill. Rajya Sabha simply sits on this bill, does not do anything on this bill for a period of 6 months. So what is happening? The bill will lead to a deadlock. The bill will lead to a deadlock. So these are the things that is happening when the bill is introduced in both the houses. Now, we understood if the bill is passed by both the house, what is going to happen? That is, if the bill is passed by both the house, then it goes to the president and it becomes an act. The president can sign on this bill, or the president can do some other things. Now, what the president can do, we'll discuss later. But let us assume the bill is passed by Lok Sabha, bill is passed by Rajya Sabha, it goes to president. Now it is in the hands of president. Fine, okay. But before that, let us assume bill is passed by Lok Sabha, but either Rajya Sabha is rejecting the bill, or Rajya Sabha is proposing certain amendments and Lok Sabha is not acting, or Rajya Sabha is sitting idle on this bill for a period of 6 months. It leads to what? It leads to deadlock. It leads to what we call as deadlock. Now, for an ordinary bill to resolve this deadlock, for an ordinary bill to resolve this deadlock, Indian Constitution provides a remedy called as joint sitting. Indian Constitution provides a remedy called as joint sitting. Now, in simple words, what is this joint sitting? In simple words, joint sitting means members of Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha sit together. Members of Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha sit together. Now, where is it provided in the Constitution? It is provided in Article 108 of the Constitution of India about this joint setting. Now, how to remember this? What is number 108? Number 108 is something related to an emergency thing, that is ambulance. Now, here, this joint sitting also happens when there is an emergency. Now, what is this emergency? Deadlock. So, remember in this format, Now, when we say joint sitting, basically what is happening? What is happening is the members of Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha are sitting together. Now, when Lok Sabha alone sits together, the speaker is the presiding authority. When Rajya Sabha is alone sitting together, then the chairperson of Rajya Sabha is sitting together. Okay, the chairperson of Rajya Sabha is the presiding authority. Now, when Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha are together sitting, who is the presiding officer of this joint sitting? The presiding officer of this joint sitting will be the Speaker of Lok Sabha. Okay, so it is the Speaker of Lok Sabha who is going to be given the permission, or who is given the permission, or who is given the authority by the Constitution to preside over this joint sitting. Now, you might ask why the chairperson, that is, why the Vice President of India is not given this authority. The reason is simple: the chairperson is not the member of Rajya Sabha, but the Speaker is also the member of Lok Sabha. Okay. Now let us assume the Speaker of Lok Sabha is absent. In the Speaker's absence, the Deputy Speaker of Lok Sabha can preside over this. Now the question is, what if even the Deputy Speaker is also absent? At that time, the Deputy Chairperson of Rajya Sabha can preside. Now, two things to note. Why Deputy Chairperson has been given this opportunity? The answer is simple. This person is the member of Rajya Sabha. Okay, this person is the member of Rajya Sabha. And another thing is, when we speak about two houses, Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha, who has more authority as per the constitution? It is the Lok Sabha. Why? Because it is the house that is directly elected by the people. Okay, now let us assume Speaker is also absent, Deputy Speaker is also absent, Deputy Chairperson is also absent. Then in that case, if none are available, any member, as decided by the members, can preside. That is, the members of Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha together can decide a particular person, and that person will preside. Okay. Now, this is about the presiding authority. Now, let us assume there is a deadlock. Then there has to be joint sitting. Somebody has to call this joint sitting, right? So, who is the convening authority? The convening authority for this joint sitting is none other than the President of India. Just like, just like the convening authority for any session of the parliament, or for any session of Lok Sabha, or for Rajya Sabha, is the president. Similarly, the convening authority for this joint sitting is also going to be the president. Okay. Now, what kind of majority is used in the voting of a joint sitting? It is going to be simple majority. Now, what is a simple majority? Nothing but total number of members of both the houses present and voting. For example, let us assume we know that in total Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha together has 780 members. But out of the 780, some people might have resigned from their post. Some people might have been disqualified. Some people might have been dead. Some people might even be absent. In that case, let us assume the total number of members among both Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha together present is 500 out of 780. And in this 500, let us assume 100 members are abstaining. That is neither voting for the bill nor voting against the bill. They're sitting simply quiet. So only 400 members vote is counted. So out of 400, if more than 50%, that is if 201 members vote for the bill, then the bill is going to get passed. Okay. So the voting is going to happen through what? Through a simple majority. So tell me who has the more authority or power in this joint sitting? It is the Lok Sabha. Why Lok Sabha? Because purely of the numbers. That is, Lok Sabha has approximately 543 members and Rajya Sabha has approximately 245 members. That is, Lok Sabha has more than double of Lok Sabha. So Lok Sabha, so the will of Lok Sabha is going to get passed in what? In the joint sitting. Now let us assume there is this joint sitting going on. In this joint sitting, can new amendments be proposed? No. No new amendments can be proposed in the joint sitting. Only those amendments that led to the deadlock or those necessitated by the delay in the bill's passage can be moved. Why this is the case? Because this ensures the focus remains on resolving the specific points of disagreement. So this is what happens in the joint sitting. Okay. Now, my question is, how many cases have we seen joint sitting of the Indian Parliament? The answer is, in the history of the constitutionally independent India, there has been only three instances of joint sitting that has taken place. So the first one is the Dowry Prohibition Bill of 1961. The first one is the Dowry Prohibition Bill of 1961. And the second one is Banking Service Commission Bill of 1978. The Banking Service Commission Bill. And the third one is Prevention of Terrorism Bill. Prevention of Terrorism Bill that was happened in the year 2002. So there has been only three instances of joint sitting that has happened in the Indian constitutional history so far. So this is about the joint sitting. Now, now let us try to understand